Kick us off, bro.
Johnny and Sergio show, remote cleaning edition. We put a poll up and we said, well, what do you guys want to hear us talk about? And by far and large, it was cleaning. And we're going to be making a lot more cleaning focused content. So this episode is completely dedicated to how to start, how to grow a cleaning business completely remotely without having to do any cleaning yourself. Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, if you're new to the show, I want to give like a quick little context, just like a little bit, because we've told our story so many times. But basically, we started a window cleaning business when we were 19 years old, and actually did the cleaning. That was asked, by the way. Don't do that. And then a couple years later, we sold that business after starting a remote house cleaning business where we didn't actually do the cleaning. We hired contractors to do it. Johnny's mom actually started running that business, and now she does pretty well for herself. You know, $30K a month in the business, right? So
she made $150,000 in taxable income last year.
$150,000 taxable income last year. That was not even her second full year in business. Mm-hmm. So
on 300,000
really
sales, so pretty solid.
Yeah, and now up to date, I mean, we've helped over 1,000 people start and grow a remote cleaning business. So we know a thing or two about cleaning.
We know a lot about cleaning. We know everything there is to know about cleaning.
We know a little bit too much about cleaning.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So let's. I mean, that's a good place to start, though. Okay, we've done it. We've got a lot of experience in it. Pros and cons. Why should someone start a cleaning business? Why should someone not start a cleaning business?
Well, I mean, the biggest pro that I always talk about is this is a great first business to learn every entrepreneurial skill that you can learn to grow a 7-figure business and above. Because when you start a remote cleaning business, you start doing the hiring yourself. And keep in mind, you don't have to do the cleaning, which is the best part about it. So you're hiring, you're learning how to delegate because you have to get the cleaners to do the jobs. You hire a virtual assistant who's answering the phones and doing all of that. So delegation, leadership, and then sales, which is a huge one. Because if you're going to start any business, you need to know how to sell. If you don't know how to sell, you don't know how to bring cash in the door, you're screwed. And marketing is another big one. So if you learn all those skills, you can go and parlay that into any business. You can do it in house cleaning, but you can do it in any other business, which we've done with Home Service Academy, and just know what you're doing and kill it.
Yeah, it's one of the only business models I see of the, like, I'll say beginner business models that are being thrown around the internet. Like, you got people pitching agencies and drop shipping and Amazon FBA and writing books, whatever it is, right? All the beginner business models. I haven't seen one where you start with the degree of leverage that you do, like you do in a house cleaning business. Because like you said, you hire someone to answer the phones, you hire the cleaners to do the work. Your job is to market and sell and hire. And that's the core foundational skills. You can take that to any business. You can continue to improve upon those skills to grow your current cleaning business. So I really like it for that aspect as well. But what else?
Dude, another pro is house cleaning is not going anywhere, right? Older than a cup of coffee. Like, people always need their house cleaned. Buildings too. Commercial buildings, you look around, all these places need the facilities cleaned. So there's just so much demand. Even if there's 100 cleaning companies in a county, I mean, depends on the county, but like there's not going to be too much competition no matter where you go. So there's just so much demand for it. And no matter if you're in the recession or if you're in a good economy, we've seen people kill it in cleaning, you know, throughout all of that. So that's another pro to it.
I mean, cleaning's a pain in the ass. No one likes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, maybe some people like to do it, but exceptions don't make the rule.
Right.
If someone has the disposable income to not have to clean their own shit, they're going to pay someone to clean their stuff.
It's only trending up too, because if you look at the trends, there's more and more working class couples where both people are working a 9-to-5 job. So when that happens, they have more disposable income and less time to clean the house. So that's just a recipe for a growing industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to your point of competition, not only I feel when people look into businesses, especially when they haven't run a business before, they'll look in their area and be like, oh my God, there's 100 cleaning companies. How am I going to stick out? You got to understand a couple of things. Number one, if there's a lot of cleaning companies, especially if you see franchises, like franchise locations,
mm-hmm.
those franchise locations have to charge a high enough price to be able to pay their royalties to the franchisor, because the franchisor also has to make money and the franchisee also has to make money. So you're going to know immediately if there's a franchise in your location, it's probably a good location because it means there's enough customers that have the willingness to pay a franchise price, because they're always going to be higher than your mom and pop typically. Not only that, but you have to understand in all markets across the US, Canada, wherever there's house cleaning businesses, if you're watching this or listening to this, go call 10 cleaning companies and watch how many of them actually answer their phone. You'd be surprised at how many can't even do the basics, like picking up the phone when someone calls. It's like they don't like making money. So you're coming into a market where people already don't do the basics, already don't really take their business serious. Most of them don't want to even grow or don't know how to grow, so they just still do the cleaning themselves and grow off of word of mouth and referrals and run their businesses on pen and paper. So it's very easy to come in if you're business minded and really focused on it and you do the basics really well. You can grow really quickly. There's really not that much competition, even though you'll see hundreds of listings.
Yeah. Any other pros?
Low barrier to entry. It's a kind of a pro and a con. Low barrier to entry, right? You can get started with very little capital. I mean, you have software costs, you have your insurance that you need, you've got your phone system, your cost to file an LLC in whatever state. So depending on the state, it can be as little as $300-$400. If you're in California, $1,400. Yeah. And you're off to the races. You don't really even need to put money into ads because you can utilize things like local Facebook groups, next door, these neighborhood communities, and build kind of like a local personal brand to start generating leads. And you find the cleaners off of those same groups, Facebook, Nextdoor, or you can spend a little bit of money on an Indeed post, but yeah, it's super, super low cost to start. Flip side of that is because it's low barrier to entry, you're going to see lots of companies come in and out of the market. And you might have cleaners on your staff who are like, oh, I want to go do my own thing. And they go start their own thing or go start marketing themselves. But the contractor model kind of solves for that. Yeah, because you're hiring people that already have their own small business. Right. So, yeah, I mean, to build on that, we started the window cleaning business initially with $150, right? That's like the super low end, but it took us forever to grow it. The second time we started cleaning business, we actually had like $1,000, $1,500 in ads first month. Mm-hmm. And we were able to return that money and make $12,000 in revenue in the first month. So you can kind of see like the flip side. You could start it super low cost, going to be a slower start, but you could also put $1,000 into ads. And if you do it right, you can start in a really good spot. The thing with that though, is like we didn't even come out of pocket for that $2,000 though, because we opened up a brand new credit card. Mm-hmm. So we put $2,000 of ad spend onto Yelp to generate leads, but we collected all that cash and then paid off the ads the next month. Yeah. We paid off the credit card the next month with the cash we collected from the customers we booked from the ads we bought on the credit card. Right. So there's really technically no money out of pocket. Yeah. But we kind of knew what we were doing, so it wasn't as scary, but we don't recommend that for someone who's just has no experience of closing deals or right. Because you could marketing. Easily just burn $1,000 in ad spend. 100%. Yeah. Another thing too that I forgot pro for cleaning is there's a lot of built-in recurring revenue. So when you do it correctly, houses and buildings are going to continue to get dirty over and over again. Mm-hmm. And if you do a good job the first time, you're going to build trust with the customer. They paid you money, you showed up, you delivered what you promised, and in 2 weeks, a month's time, their house is going to get dirty again. Guess what? They're probably going to use you if they're happy with you the first time. So then you start booking these people for monthly cleans. Some people do up to a few times a week, right? And that's not common, but most people will do either monthly or biweekly. Mm-hmm. And if you do it right and you're servicing your clients really well, you're setting good expectations, you're following up with them, you're booking them for these recurring cleans, you'll start to see your revenue stack every month. So as long as you can staff the cleaner side quick enough to fulfill all the sales and jobs you're booking, you should be able to grow every month. So it's very simple in that aspect. I'm not going to say that's easy because I've made it sound really easy. It's not, but it's very simple. Yeah, and that's what I love about cleaning as opposed to like window cleaning. Because when we started the window cleaning business, people get their windows cleaned once a year, maybe twice a year. Mm-hmm. But in the cleaning business, you're getting people that get cleaned every single month. So building the recurring aspect of the business is very doable, and
it just makes it a good business overall, because we've seen how hard it can be running a business that doesn't have recurring versus it does. You just walk into a month with a 10K that you know is going to come in, makes you feel so much better.
Yeah, you don't have to sell your way back to like
starting at zero every month. Yeah.
And claw your way back to your break-even point to just cover your costs. It can be very stressful. So I do like that a lot about cleaning. Not only that, but because if you start tracking your LTV, your lifetime value of your customer, and you start to see, okay, well, I spend $50, $100 to acquire a customer, but every customer that stays with me is worth $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. $4,000 is around what we see when you do it correctly. Well, when it goes time to sell the business, if you ever want to sell, that's going to be very valuable to someone who's going to acquire that business, because they're going to see, holy crap, you've got 400 customers and they're all worth $4,000. So if I could just repeat this process and acquire more customers, I know how much they're worth, because they stick with you so long. So that's another thing too, is you can get a pretty good multiple if you do it correctly.
Yeah. I mean, those are a lot of pros. Let's talk about the cons. What do you got?
Dude, you're managing cleaners. Like, you would be some of the horror stories we have, from even the window cleaning business to the house cleaning business to our students' house cleaning businesses.
Right.
Like, hiring is a skill. And when you're starting your first business, it's really important to learn this, especially when you're doing something with like low level labor, like cleaners, because you're going to attract a lot of less than ideal talent, and you're going to have to vet through that and know what to look for. And the only way to do that is by making mistakes. And so it can be really scary when you make a wrong hire and you send a cleaner out and they do a bad job, or they leave a bad impression on your business, and you either get a bad review or you get a complaint. As a business owner who's never been through that, like a new business owner, it can be really, really scary to deal with.
It feels like the end of the world.
100%.
Yeah. Like,
we had one company when we first launched HSA. Cody, he actually works at Home Service Academy now. He had cleaners that went out and they said they had a vacuum. They showed up. They didn't actually have a vacuum. They had a broom. And instead of vacuuming the carpet, which was on the checklist and told to the customer, they're like some crackheads, and they started sweeping the carpet with the broom to get
that's ridiculous.
To get the dust out of the carpet. Or
you can't make this up.
Yeah.
That's definitely a con. It's like you have to find, like, we call it the rule of 25 in Home Service Academy. You're talking around 25 cleaners on average before you find like your first rock star cleaner. So, that kind of puts into perspective how many bad cleaners there is out there, but there is good cleaners too, because obviously we've had tons of good cleaners. So that's one of the cons.
Yeah, no, that's by far, I would say, the biggest. Another thing too is a little bit of seasonality to the business when you're not in spring or summer, and especially if you're in climates where it gets real heavy on snow, you'll get a lot of people calling to cancel, or just overall a less amount of leads, especially if you're advertising on platforms like Yelp or Google local service ads, because the way those work is they only give you leads based on what their search inventory is. So if there's only 1,000 people searching that month, you're competing with the other advertisers in your service area for those 1,000 leads. Whereas in spring, maybe there's 20,000 or 10,000. You have a much bigger pool.
Right.
So seasonality can be annoying, and if you're not doing things outside of paid ads to continue to acquire customers when it's slow, it's going to be very stressful during that time.
And just in general, like, even if you are doing those things, you're just not going to get as much customers, and you have to be willing to kind of accept that just a little bit. Not just expect nothing, but seasonality is definitely a thing. Yeah,
no, seasonality is a big pain in the ass. What else you
got? Cons for the remote cleaning business. I mean, this one is kind of like business in general, because we've seen people that come into the program that have never run a business before, and sometimes they feel like the grass is greener on the other side. Like, if I started this other type of business, it would have been better. But the reality is, business is hard. So there's hard aspects of the cleaning business, like you said, hiring the cleaners, managing cleaners. It can be a pain in the butt when you have a cleaner that doesn't show up for a job. You find out 10 minutes before the job is about to start. What do you tell the customer, right? That can be stressful. And so business is hard. I feel like that's the con to having a remote cleaning business.
Yeah, well, to piggyback off that too, just it's a service business at the end of the day. So because of it being a service business, I don't care what service you sell, from house cleaning to spray tans to we teach people how to start cleaning businesses, and that's still a service.
Right.
And given a large enough sample of customers, you're gonna have bad apples and people that complain no matter what. You can give them the world, and they're going to complain. And I feel like that's even more true in house cleaning because you're in someone's home. It's very intimate, and you're going to get the absolute most Karens of customers where like you miss one speck of dust on a baseboard and it's the end of the world and they're calling you and you have to send the cleaner back. Maybe you have to might pay the cleaner more. So annoying things like that.
So you're just dealing with people in general. Could be a con if like you really do not like dealing with people. Yeah, but besides that, I think that's really it. Cons.
I think that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, let me just interrupt real quick to tell you about Home Service Academy. It's the company Sergio and I run. Home Service Academy is essentially a business in the box where our team will actually roll up our sleeves and help you build a house cleaning business and run it completely remotely from anywhere in the world, from dirt to however big you actually want to take it. To date, we've helped over 1,500 people start and grow their existing house cleaning businesses all across the US and Canada. It's something we've gotten very, very good at. And if you've been looking to dip your toe into entrepreneurship, whether that's to go full-time in a business, to replace an income, or just build a side hustle that produces you an extra whatever amount of money you want to make on the side, on top of your current 9-to-5, then click the link in the bio and book a call with our team. It's completely free, and at the very least, you'll see what it looks like to actually run one of these businesses, the time commitments, the amount of money it costs to actually start, and every good and bad thing that can come with running one of these. So again, if that's something you're interested in, click the link in the bio and let's get back to the pod.
What about growing? How big can like a cleaning business get? I get that question a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is there's no cap on it. There's cleaning businesses that make millions of dollars. And then there's on the other end of the spectrum, like you said, there's solo cleaners that make a couple $100s a week. In terms of what's realistic, especially within like your first year, you can definitely get to like $50,000 to $100,000 a month if you know what you're doing. If you're a first-time business owner, you have no guidance, even getting to 20 to $30K a month in the first year is pretty doable. So yeah.
I do get that question a lot. I mean, really, the cleaning business is simple when you look at it from the top down. It's like a ladder, like an A-frame ladder. You've got one side that is your sales and how many jobs you're booking, and then you have the other side, which is you staffing the cleaners. Mm-hmm. And as long as you make sure both are growing and one doesn't outgrow the other, then you're golden. If you start to book more jobs at a faster pace than you can staff the cleaners to go to those jobs, well, then your ladder's going to fall over and you're going to have problems because now you're not going to have cleaners to show up to the jobs. Your customers aren't going to be happy. And on the flip side, if you don't have a lot of jobs and you overstaff the cleaners, well, now your cleaners are going to leave because you can't give them any work. So it's kind of like that chicken and egg thing. That kind of fits in the pros and cons, but it's very simple. If you can be good at both, you can scale this to the moon.
Yeah. And then another thing to like just growing in general is customer service. Like customer experience, customer service is like super important because you are dealing with people at the end of the day. And if you could provide a good experience, that's pretty rare in house cleaning. Like if you talk to customers on the phone and ask them how their last house cleaning experience went, you'll get that they were unreliable. They didn't show up sometimes. They didn't do a good job. When they didn't do a good job, they didn't really care to fix it. So if you can just do those things, then it's not that difficult to grow through word of mouth, people giving reviews, people continuing to use your service from recurring, and that's kind of how you start the flywheel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, going off that then, what are some things that you see most cleaning business owners screw up on that prevents them from growing? Because we see people all the time who will get to 20K a month really quickly, but then they'll stay stuck there for a little bit. Or whatever that level might be. Some it's 30, some it's 40, some it's 50, and they can't get unstuck. So, like, what do you think are the common problems you see when people try to grow and scale house cleaning businesses?
Typically, it's like when people grow super fast like that, it's because of Google LSA. Like they had one marketing channel that worked really well for them, and that's what they depended on. And on top of that, when they got new customers, they just were okay with letting those customers go, and they weren't converting a lot of them to recurring. So what happens when it's slow season, or for whatever reason their marketing channel slows down and they have no recurring customers? They easily go from 20K a month down to 3K a month. And it's like, what happened? It's like, you didn't focus on taking care of your customers and converting to recurring, and you didn't focus on diversifying your marketing channels. That's usually like the biggest problem that I see. And it sucks when you see it, but you try to tell them and they get comfortable because they see the big number and they feel like they're doing everything right. And they think there's nothing left to learn. And the reality is, business has a funny way of kicking you down. When you think when you know everything, it'll humble you real quick.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, to go off that too, we were stuck in this for a while where people will think they'll get to 40K a month or 50K, whatever it is, and they'll do it all off of just closing new customers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with it is it's so much easier to sell someone and close someone and take money from someone who's already paid you money in the past. And it took us, it sounds like a crazy concept, or at least it did to us, but it's really not. It's so simple. But to most business owners, they might think they understand this, but they don't actively take action behind it, because you'll see people who just spend, acquire all these new customers, but they're not worth anything because they don't rebook. And so the first thing you should do is put in a process where you're rebooking the customers that have already paid you for your services, outside of things like a move out clean where they're moving to a whole new house out of state or whatever, or construction cleanups likely aren't going to be recurring. But anybody who's doing deep cleans or normal cleans with you, you should be adding them to an email list. You should be adding them to an email list and an email sequence and a text sequence. And you should have yourself or your admin virtual assistant person, whoever is answering the phone calls, to nurture them and reach out to them every couple of weeks to see if they're ready to book another clean. Most people don't do that.
Can you break that down a little bit? So like, what would an email sequence or a text sequence look like?
So if they were to come in as a customer and get booked, ideally the moment that job gets marked as done and it's charged, I'm enrolling them into an email sequence that's going to trigger every 2 weeks. That's going to reinvite them to book and say, hey, we're here, and keep us top of mind. Even if they don't book, it's fine, because you want them to remember that you're here. On top of that, it's all about trust points, right? Touch points. We like to call them trust points, where it's like you're always just building more trust with the customer after they paid you money. Or even before they paid you money, even if they haven't booked a clean, if they've come into your funnel, you've gave them a price, but they haven't closed, you should still have another sequence to re-nurture that segment of customers to be able to eventually book and become a paying customer, right? And so it's just adding in all these touch points to all your leads to maximize the amount of money you're spending on these leads. Because you can spend, and if you're really good at closing and you're booking them at a high rate, you're still going to be profitable. But imagine if you add all that onto the back end and you're booking 30% of customers that come in, 30% of leads that come into your business every month.
Yeah.
That could do some serious damage. Then you start to see the snowball effect. You start to see yourself walking into, oh, shoot, I got 5K going into next month of recurring revenue. Keep doing it. What's 10K now the next month? And then it's 15. Then maybe it's 18. You get what I'm saying? You get the point? Yeah. I don't see enough people doing that.
Definitely. I can see that. You brought up a lot of big numbers. If someone's kind of new to this, they haven't really seen the ins and outs of a cleaning business, they're probably wondering, what does profit look like on a business like this?
So when it's run correctly, I don't like to see anything less than 30%. I've seen up to 60% in Home Service Academy. Guy doing 20K a month on 60% of that revenue is net.
Net profit.
Yeah, and I'll break it down. So a good cleaning business, it comes down to three things. Number one is your gross profit margin. This is the revenue left over after you've paid your cleaners. It's a service business, so your gross margin is always going to be your profit left after your cost of goods sold. In the service business, we don't have cost of goods sold because we're using contractors. We're not supplying their equipment. Our labor is our cost of goods sold. So everything after we pay the cleaners, I want that to be as high as possible because I want to have a large margin for error. I want to be able to test things and fuck up and not have it absolutely obliterate my month and not allow me to be able to get paid as the business owner at the end of the month. If something goes wrong and I have to process a refund or I have to do a little bit more test claims or I have to put a little more into hiring, I want to be okay. And the way that I'm going to do that is by paying my cleaners around 40% of every job I book. That should leave you with about 60% of your revenue left over, right? So if you do 10K in a month, that leaves you with $6,000. Now, because going back to what we talked about at the beginning, these businesses require very little capital to start. Your fixed costs are only going to be your insurance, your phone system, your software to book the jobs, and maybe QuickBooks and some other like small software charges.
Yeah.
And then the big one's going to be the marketing. And so number 2 is going to be, what is your return on ad spend and your close rate? So you have your gross margin's really high. Now I want to look at what's my close rate and what's my return on my ad spend. They go hand in hand with each other because the higher your close rate is, the higher your return on ad spend is going to be. You spend $1,000 and you get 10 leads in, right? You're paying, it's $100 a lead that you're paying for. To make numbers really, really simple.
Yeah.
The higher percentage you can close those leads, the less you're going to pay, right? Because if I get 10 leads at $100 a piece and I close 5 of them, well, now I just paid $200 to acquire that customer. Whereas if I close at 70%, that number starts to go down. You get what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm using basic numbers. You're not going to see $100 cost per lead usually. And then that's going to make my marketing more efficient. And so if I'm looking at this business on a profit and loss statement, the first thing I'm looking at is how's my gross margin? Okay, is it good? Next, I'm going to look at the marketing spend as a percentage of the revenue. So if it's anything past 20%, it's going to tell me that's inefficient. And you probably need to work on your closing rate because you're not getting the most out of your leads that you possibly can. And then after that, if you do that really well, it just comes down to hiring and staffing because then you can spend and be super profitable because all the money you spend, you're getting the most you can out of it and you're paying your cleaners well. You're going to be left over with a bunch of profit. And if you're booking those customers to recurring, then you're going to walk into every month at a higher revenue level and not have to stress out. And that's the third one is measuring of the new customers you bring into the business, how many of them are actually converting to recurring. And I'd want that to be around 20 to 30%. And then I also, on top of that, I want to measure churn of my recurring customers, how many are leaving every month. And as long as the percentage of the new customers you're bringing in are converting to recurring, that percentage is higher than your churn, the customers leaving, then you'll have no problems and your business is going to grow as big as you want it.
Bro, you cooked.
Did I miss
Absolutely chefed it up right there.
Did I miss anything?
No, I mean, like you said, you want your gross profit to be as high as possible. And some people might think, oh, does that mean you're paying your cleaners like shit? Does that mean that you're trying to pay them as little as possible? No. And the reality is, you as a business owner is required to make sure your people are happy. Even though they're contractors, you still want them to be happy. And that means if you want them to be paid, 40% of your total revenue, you have to charge higher prices. If you're charging crap prices and paying them a low percentage, it's going to be a lose-lose scenario and no one's going to make money. So I think that's one important caveat. And then the second thing is the churn should be less than 10%. If it's higher than 10%, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. And you have to charge high prices for sure. That's kind of the whole concept too. We didn't really touch on that part.
Yeah.
Is the whole benefit to using, like we're big on contractors because it's going to save you a lot of money as a business owner. You won't have to pay the payroll tax. You won't have to pay for their supplies, their gas, their vehicles, their uniforms. You won't have to spend time training them. It just frees so much time up by using contractors because they already have the experience. Mm-hmm. And so that removes a lot of BS that you have to deal with. But the thing is you can also pay them more because you're paying them a percentage of the job. So if you charge high prices and they're getting 40%, they're benefiting off of your skills of being good at closing these jobs at a high price.
Right. Yeah.
And because you're paying them more, you're going to have a higher likelihood of them actually staying with you for a long time, because if you can get them to 25, 30, 35, $40 an hour, where else are they going to get paid $40 an hour to clean a house? They're definitely not getting that any W-2 role.
Right. And most of the time they're charging way less for their own clients. So they're making more money working with us versus just getting their own jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's a win-win scenario for sure.
Yeah. What else?
Let's talk about how to get more customers. Okay. I think that's important to understand. Where would you start? If you were starting a cleaning business today.
I mean, dude, the lowest hanging fruit is by far LSA. We talked about it. LSA is Google Local Service Ads. If you look up any home service, say, look up house cleaning near me on Google, you're going to see these badges that come up right under the search bar. It's going to say Google Guarantee. It's going to have a big green check mark, and it's going to have the company name. That is Google Local Service Ads. It is by far the easiest thing to set up in the world. You can put, it's a weekly budget, so you put $500 a week on there, and you'll start getting leads. And they'll be high intent leads because they're already searching for house cleaning, right? They're already, right. If somebody's searching for a house cleaning business, it's likely that they've already have intent to buy, or their intent is really high to buy. Mm-hmm. So you should close them at a really high rate. So that's by far, I would get that set up, but I don't want to be dependent on it. And because I don't want to be dependent on it, if something happens and I start getting ranked in 5th or 6th or 10th place, I know my lead flow is going to go down. So I want to pair that with an organic strategy on places like Facebook groups, Nextdoor groups, where I'm building a local personal brand to be able to constantly get deals. And it's pretty cool because when you do both, you're going to see your customer acquisition costs go a lot lower because you're not dependent on paid. And as an example as well, Marriott and Mott, my mom's company in Orange County, exclusively does Nextdoor marketing organically. We don't pay for ads on Nextdoor. Maybe we have like $100, $200 we spend on Google Local Service Ads a month. But my mom's been able to cultivate a lot of relationships with home builders and construction companies that are finishing a couple, like 2, 3, 5 houses every single month. And the construction cleanup jobs are going to be really high ticket. She's charging $2,000, $1,500, $3,000. And because it's a relationship and she's just getting fed the jobs, she doesn't pay anything to acquire it. So they're super profitable and they're high ticket. And she's got her crews there all day, sometimes multiple days. So they're packed for a couple of days. She doesn't have to worry about them. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens if you have a really good organic strategy. You can, those relationships can fall in your lap. But also, too, if you make a name for yourself in your local community, I mean, think about it. If you've got 10,000 neighbors and someone posts in there and says, hey, I need a house cleaning business, any recommendations? And everybody's in there commenting, oh, Sergio's house cleaning, Sergio's house cleaning, Sergio's house cleaning. Well, other people are going to see that post too, not just the person that posted it.
Right.
And so when somebody sees your name all the time, it's just branding. Right. And you're getting tons of, like, almost you're getting referrals.
And it's free branding in a local group like that.
Yeah. And you're going to be, and it's funny because at Orange Window Cleaning, we measured, okay, what was our average order value from our different acquisition channels, right? Yelp, Google, referral, whatever it was. And referrals always paid $100 more on average. We always were able to charge higher to referrals, and we would close them at a higher rate. And when you do this right in the Facebook and the Nextdoor groups, it's like referrals at scale because everybody just has so much trust with you in the neighborhood.
Right. And just to clarify real quick, you said we charge higher to referrals, not like we charge more, but like they'll buy more stuff from us.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
No, we weren't charging people different prices. Yeah. No, we weren't doing that.
But yeah, I think that's a great strategy and it's very underutilized. So no matter what city or state you're in, there's a good chance no one's doing that. And that spot is ripe for the picking. And if you're the one that takes it, then you could be making a lot of money from that strategy. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so Google LSA, you got the organic strategy going. Now, there is times where Google LSA doesn't work for whatever reason. Some places, it just doesn't work. So if that's the case, what's the next thing you would do?
Drink water, went down the wrong pipe.
All right, let me chime in here.
No, I got it.
Oh, you got it?
What was the question?
Okay.
What was the question?
Just assuming Google LSA didn't work or you wanted to add another paid channel, what would it be?
Yeah, I'm big fan of outbound. So when I say outbound, like picking up the phone and dialing, even better if you can pair that with cold email, because then you can scrape lists. D7 Lead Finder is a great tool. You can scrape lists from property managers, apartment buildings, realtors, home builders, and you can slam them with cold email and cold calls to start to build relationships. So going back to what I said about how my mom was able to post on Nextdoor, end up building these relationships, you can force yourself into building these relationships by just picking up the phone and calling. Places like property managers have vendor lists. People like home builders who are building homes have vendor lists as well. And they're going to invite all their vendors out for whatever they need to bid on houses or their buildings. And so if you can cultivate a relationship with somebody who's managing, 300 doors, 500 doors, 1,000 doors, and they have, 10% of those moving out in and out every single month, well, guess what? That's like 10 extra jobs for you a month just from building one relationship.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a lot harder, though, because you've got to treat outbound like you're building a pipeline at first, right? You're not going to... Now, this may happen, right? But again, exceptions don't make the rule. You're not going to pick up the phone and someone's going to hand you a $3,000 job just because you called them and asked them for it. You're going to need to nurture and build these relationships over time, right? So first it might be like, hey, property manager, do you guys have a vendor list? I have a cleaning business. We've done work for X company and Y company. They're likely going to say, yeah, I'll send you over a packet, fill out the information. You'd fill out the information, but this is just the very beginning of building the relationship, because once you fill out the information, now you're going to want to hit them up a couple times a week with calls saying, hey, I sent over the information. Did you get it? Yes. Okay, cool. What jobs do you have upcoming that I can bid on potentially? Oh, nothing right now. Okay. I'm calling back a week later. Same thing with the builders. Is there any properties coming to completion that you're going to need a construction cleanup on? Up until you bother them so much, they either tell you to fuck off or they start giving you jobs. Yeah. And all you have to do once they give you the first one is do a good job and have good customer service. You do that, I promise you they're going to continue to feed you jobs over and over and over and over again.
And it's like you said, this is not easy. This is a more difficult channel because you can't just turn on the outbound like you do with LSA. Mm-hmm. But that means that there's going to be way less people doing it. So there's a good chance that no one's called this property manager before or this, contractor to ask about cleaning. Mm-hmm. So if you're the one person who did it, there's a better chance that you're going to build that relationship and get work from them.
Yeah, 100%. And who cares even if they have cleaners already that they use? Maybe their cleaners are busy sometimes, they're unreliable, or they're not happy. Right. You'd be surprised with how many vendors are still getting jobs that the contractor or the property manager or the apartment building owner or facilities manager is just unhappy with them, but they use them because that's who they've been using.
Yeah, and they're just too lazy to go find another one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, happens all the time.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have Google LSA, we have organic strategy, and we have outbound. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Those are my top three. Do you have any that I didn't cover?
Yeah, I mean, the other one would be partnerships. I mean, that kind of falls in with outbound because that's how you would form partnerships. But we did that early on with the window cleaning business, partnered with some cleaning companies. We would hand work back and forth to each other. And if you have a cleaning company, you could do that with window cleaning companies, carpet cleaning companies, any other home service that could possibly refer your business, and then you could do the same. So the way we did it initially was we gave them a percentage of the jobs. You could do like a flat rate. You could do 10%. You could do like $50 every time they give you a customer. But if you build 5-10 of these partnerships, they all give you 2 jobs a week or even a month, right? That's an extra 20 jobs a month. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, that's what we did with Orange Window Cleaning. We called the top 2 cleaning companies on Yelp, and we said something along the lines of, hey, we notice you don't do window cleaning. We do window cleaning. We have all the insurance for window cleaning. If anybody ever asks, can you refer us, and we'll give you 10% of the job. Mm-hmm. Both of them took it and started feeding us tons of work.
That was the most work we'd gotten in residential up to that point, just by partnering with those 2 companies.
That's how we cracked into residential.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, before that, we were making $20 cleaning in a little storefront. And then we started getting into residential, and that's how we started growing.
Yeah.
So you can have a brand new business and form a partnership. Nothing is stopping you from doing that. Yeah. So it's another great way to do it.
That's a good one. I can't believe I forgot about that.
I mean, dude, there's 100 different ways to get cleaning jobs. I think people forget that because it's Google LSA is like the best thing since sliced bread. Like it was incredible how it worked 2 years ago, and it still works really good. But because of that, now the costs are going up, right? And now there's more competitors on there. So naturally, that's gonna happen with any marketing channel. But you just got to be open-minded and realize there was ways to get jobs before this was a thing. So
Yeah, dude, we didn't have no local service ads, bro.
dude, people are so spoiled these days.
I know, man. They're bitch. Oh, my LSA's not working. And the business is cooked.
Yeah.
Bro. Like, I wish we had LSA.
Same, bro.
Yeah.
Same.
Is there anything we might have missed?
I mean, if you're new to remote home services, remote house cleaning, I think this was a really good episode just to take in like all different aspects to take into consideration if you're thinking about starting one.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it all. Pros and cons of starting it. What it's like to actually scale it, the things to look out for. And by the way, if you own a cleaning business and you're watching this, go back to that segment where we talk about the 3 things. I promise you, if you're stuck, it's one of those 3 things. So go back and watch that part. Talked about how to get customers. How about how to get cleaners real quick?
Yeah.
Best places to get cleaners.
I mean, real quick. So we got obviously Indeed. That's a great place to find cleaners.
Indeed, real quick. Apply the 80-20 rule to Indeed because 80% is going to be dog dookie.
Great.
But
yeah.
20% is
Great.
good. And so it's your job to sift through that every single week and screen cleaners every single week off of Indeed. Really off of all the channels. A good rule of thumb is to screen cleaners every single week. I like at least 10. That way you can start to build a bench. So in case your team of cleaners screws up, you need to let one go or one quits or one thinks that you need them. Well, just like an NFL team or a sports team, you've got people on the bench ready to plug in case one goes down.
Yeah, when we started hiring in the beginning, we didn't know this. And we probably talked to like 5 or 10 really crappy applicants or people that didn't even answer the phone. And we're like, dude, Indeed doesn't work. But it was really just a numbers game. Mm-hmm. We just needed to talk to more people and apply the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. So Indeed is a good place to find solo cleaners. A good place to find teams of cleaners is typically Craigslist. Or if you're in Canada, it's called
Woodpecker?
No. That's a email service. It's like Kijiji or something like that.
Oh, Kijiji,
yeah. That's for Canada. So Craigslist, housekeeper.com, like any place where there's housekeepers. And then another great place to find cleaners for free is using like the organic strategy. So you go in a local Facebook group, go on Nextdoor, pretend like you're a customer and just say, does anyone know of any good cleaners? And people will refer those like local, like smaller cleaners. And that's a great list to start from. So, dude, there's so many different ways to find cleaners.
Dude, Turno's underrated.
Turno. Yeah. That's how you connect. That's for Airbnbs, right?
Yeah, it's a marketplace for Airbnb owners to connect with solo cleaners.
Yeah. And that's a great place to find Airbnb hosts too that you want to partner with.
Yeah.
So,
did you say, I don't think you said care.com. Care.com is good too.
Yeah.
You said housekeeper.
Basically, any directory where there's a bunch of cleaners, it's a great place to look. So there's a lot of different places to find them. But like you said, 80-20 rule. You're going to have to talk to a lot of cleaners before you find your really good ones.
And when you do find your good ones that are loyal and have been with you for a little bit, ask them if they know any cleaners. Lots of times you'll ask them and they'll have cleaners that they can refer to you that are happy to work or even work alongside them so you can give them bigger jobs.
Facts. Well, I think that's a good place to stop.
Cool.
If there's anything you want to know about remote cleaning, any different type of aspect of the business, let us know in the comments so we could do an episode on it.
Also, too, if you want to see what it's like to work with us to actually build a house cleaning business from scratch, click the link in the bio. At the very worst, you'll get on a call with one of our consultants and they'll give you a complete A through Z roadmap and rundown of what that's like, what it's like to run a house cleaning business to see if it's something for you or not. And at the very least, it's completely free. You'll have clarity at the end of it on whether or not this is something you want to do. So that being said, see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.